Please like this video. It will really help this story reach as many people as possible. Thank you so much for your support. She leaned on the kitchen island like it was a stage, robe half-tied, a glass of wine catching the yellow light above the stove. The house was quiet. Lyndon does that in the early evening. Kids already pulled inside. TV murmurs behind closed blinds. She tipped her chin toward me. "Why don't you come a little closer?" I turned off the faucet and let the water run out of the sink. "I'm not looking for closeness after your other man." The smile jumped, then froze. A tiny flinch, almost nothing. Then she reached for the show. "You're being dramatic." "Paranoid, again." "Maybe, but I'm done playing blind." If I'd known where that line would land, what it would break, and what it would fix, I might have said it sooner. She lifted the wine, took a small sip, studied me like I'd turned into a paperwork problem. We both knew the list. Evening walks. The phone suddenly locked and glued to her. Giggles over messages on the porch at 11. A new work perfume that didn't smell like her. I'd added them up. She tried to change the subject to bills, to the clogged gutter. I rinsed the cutting board, dried my hands, and walked past her without brushing her arm. That was the last night I slept in our bed. The next morning I set rules. I didn't announce them. I lived them. I hauled a pillow and a blanket into the guest room. I left early for the small coffee shop on Parsons next to the dusty bookstore where the owner stacks hardbacks like brick walls. Neutral territory. I sat at the window with a black coffee and watched the street wake. Delivery vans. A guy locking up a bike with one missing brake. I answered a couple of parts orders from my phone. Assistant manager at Carter Auto, the job where bolts and timelines behave better than people. I wrote myself 2 lines on a napkin. No chasing, no drama. At home we moved like neighbors who shared a hallway. She kept the robe tied tight for the next 2 days, makeup light, hair pulled back like she was auditioning for Responsible. She watched me cross rooms. I gave her nothing. I made eggs and ate them in the garage. On the second night, she set a tiny tea light on the dining table under the dim lamp, like a restaurant trying to forgive bad lighting. She waited for me to sit before she spoke, palms flat on the table. "Why did you pull away from me?" I pushed my plate aside. "I'm getting used to single-player mode." "That's harsh." I needed space." "You've been distant for months." "Those evening walks started after your conference. Since then, your phone never leaves your hand. You laugh through texts on the porch at 11. Tell me where I'm distant in that picture." "It's not like that." "What's it like?" She traced the edge of the tea light with a nail. "I've been stressed. I take a walk to think. I call Carly sometimes. We trade podcasts and trash talk. That's all." "Show me the messages with Carly." That 1 second, she had to swallow air before she answered. "This isn't a courtroom." "It's not. It's my house." She tucked hair behind her ear, tried to calm her voice. "You're building a story. You always do this. Stories need evidence. You brought me plenty." She sighed, pulled back the tea light, blew it out like she was resetting a mood. "Can we not turn this into an audit?" She stood, carried her plate to the sink. "I'm going for a quick walk. Do you want anything from the market?" "Honesty. That's out of stock, I guess." She left without replying. Her sandals clicked on the porch, then the front door shut. I stood at the sink and listened to the house creak. In the guest room, I laid out clean shirts and a pair of jeans in a stack that looked temporary. It wasn't, not in my head. The next morning, after coffee on Parsons, a regular named Pete, retired contractor, beard like a steel brush, tapped the table with a knuckle. "You're early, Nat. That usually means a storm at home." "I don't do storms. Just a weather change." "Uh-huh." He jerked his chin at my black coffee. "Stay dry." When I came back, I didn't ask where she'd been. She didn't ask where I'd slept. We passed in the hallway. She set a hand on my arm. I glanced at the hand like it was a stray receipt stuck to my sleeve. That afternoon, I changed my schedule at the store. I swapped my Thursday closing shift with the new kid, Tyler, so I could be free at 6. I didn't explain. Devin, my oldest friend, texted, "Beers Saturday?" I answered with a thumbs up and might need that couch. He replied with a pin drop and door code 2580. That's a friend. Thursday came with the smell of roasted chicken and a playlist from a speaker in the corner. She'd set the table with cloth napkins, my favorite roasted carrots, something green the first wasn't going to touch. A candle, not the tea light. Real wax that meant money or intention. She wore a soft sweater that made her look like Sunday morning. I wanted us to have a normal dinner, she said, pouring water like she was serving truce. Normal changed. Sit. Please. She waited for me to sit, then leaned forward. I want to talk like adults. I'm all out of child left. She breathed, collected words, then tried a softer tone. I miss you. I miss us. You turned cold, Nat. I'd like to fix it. Who is he? The plate sat under my hand like a prop I hadn't agreed to use. She froze mid-pour. Water touched the rim of her glass and trembled. That's not what this is. It's exactly what this is. She stared at her lap. The candle made her freckles look like choices. Silence stretched. I watched the seconds march across the microwave clock. After 20 seconds that felt like a business call on hold, she spoke. There's someone I talk to sometimes. Name. It's nothing physical. He listened. I felt invisible here. I moved my chair back a few inches. You replaced conversation with secrecy. It got out of hand. I didn't plan it. Name. I'm not comfortable with that. Number. I don't have it. I laughed once, not friendly. So you talk, but there's no number? It's mostly email. Sometimes an app. We just talk about work, books, the city. That's it. What's his last name? She lifted her palm. Why are you interrogating me? We're adults. Adults give straight answers. We can fix this if you stop pushing. I stood, plate untouched. I took my keys off the hook by the fridge. She reached for my hand. I pulled mine back like the stove had buzzed hot. Where are you going? She asked. I'm done chasing versions. I'll be at Devon's. You're blowing up our life. You did that. I'm just moving out of the blast radius. Let me pause the story for just a second. If you're still listening, please hit the like button on this video. It really helps YouTube show this story to more people. Thank you so much for the support. Now let's get back to the story. She followed me to the door. Nat, stop. We can talk. We did. I stepped onto the porch. You had every chance. On Devon's couch, I slept like a man who'd finally set down a heavy box. In the morning, I opened our shared calendar. She uses it to schedule dentist visits and girls' nights. Thursdays for the last 5 weeks had a vague block. Meeting, 6 p.m. No location. Cute. I had my coffee at the shop on Parsons, then drove toward South Washington. I parked on a side street where the map shows a clutch of small storefronts. At 5:45, I settled into my truck and watched through the windshield. At 6:03, she walked up the sidewalk in a jacket I hadn't seen, glancing at her phone. She waited near the bus stop. A dark blue sedan pulled up. She opened the passenger door like she'd done it often. He kissed her cheek. Easy, practiced. She looked left, then right, then closed the door. I didn't follow them that night. I'd seen the move. I wanted the pattern. The next afternoon, Friday, I left work early and followed her from a distance. She drove to Upper Arlington, a neighborhood cleaner than ours, where lawn edges look like someone uses a ruler. She turned into a driveway. Beige house. Dark shutters. She parked on the curb. I pulled around the block and walked like I was a guy who'd lost his dog. The garage door opened with a code. I watched her tap. 2 long, 1 short. 3 long. She went inside. I waited under a maple. Odds and ends told the story. A second car in the garage, 2 sets of sneakers by the door. After an hour, a silver SUV rolled into the driveway. A woman got out with a gym bag and an expression like she was late for something routine. She walked in through the front door without knocking. Married man. Predictable. By then the picture was clear. She wanted the boost from someone new and the comfort of my roof. She was trying to ride 2 tracks without paying fare. Fine. I wasn't going to throw a scene on a tidy street. I prefer facts. The next morning, I was in his driveway before sunrise. I leaned on my truck with coffee in hand. He walked out in a polo and shorts like he was grabbing the paper. Mid-40s. Athletic, in a way that suggested weekend tennis and a therapist. He squinted. Can I help you? You've been talking to my wife. He pulled his chin back. I thought you two were separated. Nice try. This isn't. We don't. It's not physical, he stammered. We talk. She said she was lonely. She say that beside you or inside your car? He looked at the ground. I'll stop. No. You'll stop because I said stop. You should also look at your garage code. She knows it. And make sure your wife doesn't get surprised. He swallowed. Look, man. I'm not here for a heart-to-heart. I wanted you to see my face. He nodded too quickly. I get it. It's over. I'll take your word today, and verify it tomorrow. I left it there. No shouting. No lecture. That house will remember I didn't beg. Back at Devon's, he slid a plate of pancakes across the counter. So, he's married. It's as clean and stupid as it looks. Devon wiped his hands. Want me to say something soothing? Just keep the coffee coming. You got it. I spent the afternoon in the coffee shop window, writing a list of what was mine and what I didn't need anymore. Then I drove home while the sun was still up. I wanted to be in my own kitchen for the last honest conversation we were ever going to have. When I came in, she was at the sink, filling a vase. The house smelled like the same candle from Thursday. She turned, like she'd rehearsed lines. Nat, I'm glad you're here early. I made dinner plans for us with. I put a thick manila envelope on the table. The weight hit the wood with a soft thud. I saw him yesterday, I said. He gave me everything I needed. She didn't move for 3 seconds. Then her face rearranged into the same script. There was nothing physical. It's done. I tapped the envelope. So is this. What is it? Papers. Signed. Filed yesterday. She grabbed the back of a chair. We can talk. We just did. You can't do this to us on a Saturday afternoon like it's taking out trash, she said, voice raising for the first time. I can do exactly this. I'm not interested in being your public alibi and private backup. Her jaw clenched. A plate slipped from the counter and hit the floor, broke into 3 neat pieces like it wanted to cooperate. Wine glass next. She clipped it with the back of her hand, and it toppled, rolling across the table until it hit the envelope. Red beads on manila. The kind of symbolism a freshman would love. I didn't move. This is extreme, she said, breathing through her teeth. I told you I was done. I told you it wasn't. I'm not a priest. I don't do absolution. I do outcomes. She looked small for a second, then reached for anger. You're abandoning me. I'm leaving a situation you built. I needed someone to listen, she said, softer now. You've been so checked out. You turn me off. That's different. We can fix it if you stop playing judge. No. What you want is a way to keep both tracks running. That's over. He told me he'll stop. You're back to 0. She blinked fast. I'd pulled a wire she didn't expect. The candle flickered like it didn't like the draft. She put one hand on the envelope and tried, for the last time, to make the world obey. If you file. Already done. Then at least help me think what to tell people, she said, a last-ditch tilt. I can't be blindsided. You'll figure it out. You're creative. She stared at the envelope, then at me. The room went quiet enough to hear the compressor on the fridge kick on. I stood, took the envelope back, and slid it into my bag. I wasn't leaving it there to be torn or theatrically burned. We were past theater. I'll come by Monday for my tools, I added. Where are you going now? Back to the coffee shop. Then Devon's. That's it. After 10 years. That's it. You'll regret throwing this away. I don't regret taking out the trash. She flinched at that. Not because it was cruel, but because it was final. Then she made one more move. Her talent was pressure layered with sweetness. Please, she said. Just one more dinner. Let's sit down with someone neutral. Pastor, friend, anyone. Don't make this public. There won't be a parade, I answered. But I'm not hiding for you. When I left, she didn't follow me to the door. That's how I knew she finally believed me. In the days that followed, I ran my life like a schedule. Mornings at the window table on Parsons. Work I knew how to win at. A steady pace, no grand gestures. I told my store manager I was moving to the early shift for a while. He shrugged and said, keep Tyler on returns. He needs the practice. I sent 2 emails, one to our accountant to uncouple direct deposits, one to my landlord friend who had an empty single bedroom above his garage in German Village. He wrote back, keys under the mat. Pay when you can. Good people exist. You just remember to notice them. By Tuesday, she tried again. She texted, can we talk tonight? I made lasagna. I answered, leave it on the porch. I'll pick up tools. She wrote, this isn't healthy. I responded, agreed. At the house, the porch light was on. The lasagna sat there under foil, steaming the lid. Inside, the living room was tidy in a staged way. She walked in from the hallway and leaned on the doorframe like she had the night with the tea light. Nat, please, she started. We can be civil. I am civil. I mean we can make rules. Take some time apart. No rush. You had time apart. Every Thursday at 6. That's not fair. It's accurate. She rubbed her temple with a thumb. I haven't told anyone. I haven't said a word. I'm protecting you. I don't need protection. Well, I do, she snapped, then lowered her voice, maybe aware of the neighbor's porch light. If this becomes public, it will ruin my job. My parents. Then you should have protected that earlier. Her phone buzzed on the console table. She flipped it over quickly, too obvious. I pointed at the screen. He tested your boundary already? It's a group chat. Sure. Please, she said, softer. Eat. We can go over bills. I'll make coffee. No coffee. I picked up my toolbox from the coat closet, the one with a loose handle that I never fixed because life had been about other people's lists. She followed me to the door. You're not even going to try? She asked. I tried. You laughed on the porch. That was a meme Carly sent, she said, smiling for half a second like an old reflex had fired. I don't want the script. I want the reality. You can keep the pan. As I reached the steps, she called after me, voice sharp. You're making a mistake. I'll risk it. I put the lasagna in the back of the truck. Devin ate half. He chewed, shrugged. Needs salt. On Wednesday, the wife from the beige house found me. I was leaving Carter Auto when a silver SUV rolled past the lot and parked along the curb. She walked in like she had directions. She introduced herself with a first name and a stare that said she knew how to manage crisis. You're Nat, she said. Yep. She folded her arms. He told me. Good. I want to be clear. It's over. I already made that clear to him, I replied. She nodded once. Our kids don't need drama. Keep it quiet. I don't do noise. Thank you, she said, a little less steel. And, I'm sorry. 2 families, 1 mess, I answered. We'll get through it. She left without asking more. That's how grown-ups do it. Minimum words, maximum result. Back inside, Tyler leaned against a display of windshield wipers. Everything okay? He asked. Better than before. He scratched his neck. I heard you're moving. Need a hand. I'm good, but you can cover closing Friday. He groaned. Man, you'll live. The second sweetening came Thursday night, because of course it did. She showed up at the coffee shop just as I stood to leave. The bell over the door chimed. She wore the jacket from the blue sedan night and a look that tried to be humble. Can we walk? She asked. I considered the crowded room. Pete looked up from his crossword like a referee. I stepped outside. The air had a bite. The street smelled like old wood and espresso. I've been going to counseling, she said, falling into step. 2 sessions. I'm working on why I push people. Good for you. I want you there. I'm not your homework. She swallowed. I miss our mornings. The dumb jokes. You checking my car's oil without telling me. I miss your dumb boots by the door. I know I messed up. That's accurate. I ended everything. I already ended it. She stopped walking. Just look at me. She lifted her chin. I'm trying. I looked. I saw a smart woman who had decided other people's attention was a currency she could stretch. I saw a pattern. I also saw the last 10 minutes of my patience. I have an early shift tomorrow, I said. Take care of yourself. She reached for my sleeve. I stepped back. A couple on the patio dropped their voices to listen. She noticed and changed gears. Can we meet this weekend? She asked. Public place. Neutral. 1 hour. I'll answer any question. That window closed. When? The night with the candle. You called it an audit. I call it a marriage. She blinked away something. Or pretended to. Please, Nat. You want me to keep your status. I won't. You're cruel. I'm clear. I walked to my truck. She stayed on the sidewalk long enough for a city bus to roar past and force her to step back. Small physics victory. Friday gave me the last piece I needed. At lunch, I opened our calendar again. Those Thursday meetings had started the week after her conference. The location field stayed blank except one, 3 weeks ago, where she'd typed, maybe North Market, then erased it. Habit betrays people. I scrolled through her shared notes, grocery list, dentist numbers, the kind of boring stuff a home runs on. At the bottom of an old list of names sat inside a half-typed task like she deleted it in a rush. Ask Jay. About schedule. I didn't need the last 2 letters. I finished my shift and drove to the beige house. I parked across the street. I didn't hide. He came out to the mailbox at 5. I waved him over. We're done, he said before I could speak. Good. Keep it that way. He nodded at the house. My wife knows. She's not forgiving. but we'll manage. You will if you're smart. I leaned back against my truck. Tell your neighbor to get a real security camera. That fake sticker's crooked. He looked at the pole and exhaled. You're not going to cause problems for me at work? I'm not interested in you. I'm interested in getting my time back. He lifted his hands like surrender, then dropped them. I'm sorry. I'm not the person you owe that to. As I drove off, I felt it click. The line between what I'd tolerate and what I'd never touch again. You always think that line will be dramatic, a crash. It's not. It's a yes that turns into a no and stays no. Saturday, I went home to deliver the envelope moment, and you know how that went. After, I moved into the garage apartment in German Village with a single duffel, my tools, and a cheap coffee grinder I bought on the way. The place had a view of a brick alley and a set of mismatched chairs that made me think of every porch conversation I'd had and ignored. I set the grinder on the counter and took a photo for myself. Not for social. For proof I could still build something clean. The week after, she tried her final play. She showed up at Carter Auto. The bell over the door dinged, and there she was, in a blouse I bought last year and a face that could sell sympathy to a judge. Tyler stared, then fled to the back under the excuse of a restock. Can we talk in private? She asked. We have customers, I told her, motioning to a guy holding a brake pad like a fossil. She lowered her voice. Please. This is my office, I answered, palms spread at the counter. She drew closer, almost whispering. I need one thing. If you don't want to be with me, fine. But don't tell anyone why. Don't humiliate me. You can take care of your image. I'm not carrying it. Is that a no? That's a boundary. You're punishing me. I'm protecting myself. The guy with the brake pad cleared his throat. Do y'all have this in stock? Tyler jogged back in, saved the moment. We do. He chirped, taking the pad like a relay baton. He shot me a look. You good? I nodded. She tried one more time, right there at the counter where I've solved 1,000 small crises with torque specs and replacement hoses. I know I hurt you, she said. But throwing our whole life away, that's not rational. Rational is noticing where respect ends and stepping out. She brought her voice up, just slightly. So that's it. You're going to smirk your way into a sad little bachelor life. I smiled, but not how she meant. Not sad. You'll see. She looked around for an ally. Tyler did inventory. The guy with the brake pad waited. Devin picked that moment to walk in, baseball cap backward, chewing on a toothpick he didn't need. You good? He asked me. Fine. He turned to her. You should go. She squared her shoulders, always the actor, and left with a parting shot. You'll come running back. I don't run. I told her back. I drive. Devin watched her go. You want lunch? Yeah. As we stepped outside, he bumped my shoulder lightly. You look calmer. I am, I said. I've got a window table and mornings that belong to me. The last time I saw her, really saw her as someone who still thought she held strings, was on a Sunday, 2 weeks into the new apartment. I stopped by the house to grab a box of winter clothes. She was on the porch talking to the neighbor, voice soft and careful, like a publicist. She paused when she saw me and brushed hair behind her ear. I've been telling people we're taking a break, she said, that you needed space to work on yourself. Tell them whatever helps you sleep. I'm trying not to smear you. You're trying to control the story. She held out a small paper bag. Some of your mail. I took it, glanced inside. Junk mail, a bank envelope, a flyer for gutter cleaning. On the bottom, a note in her handwriting. We could still fix this. No signature. No apology, either. It read like a pitch. I replaced the locks, she added. Just for safety. Good, I said. You should have, weeks ago. She leaned back against the column. Do you ever think about the good parts, Nat? All the time. That's why I'm leaving them behind. I'd like to remember them clean. You're cruel, she said again, a favorite word when control slips. I'm neat. I walked to my truck without looking back. At the stop sign, I checked the mirror. She was still on the porch, staring at the space I vacated like it was going to give her the plot twist she wanted. Here's the epilogue you're waiting for because I would be, too, if I were you. The apartment above the garage wasn't much, but it was mine. I found a used pickup that doesn't complain in winter. I took the morning shift permanently. I started spending Fridays at a woodworking shop in Franklin and Mark, the owner, talks in 2-word sentences and loans me tools like he's testing my soul. I built a small table with clean edges and gave it to Devin's kid. The coffee shop owner started pouring my black without me asking. The bookstore guy next door found me a hardback of a writer I like and said, "No charge," like a benediction. A month later, I met someone not through apps or setups, but at a volunteer day, stacking canned goods. We traded stories that didn't center on pleading or hurt. She laughs like a person who doesn't owe anything to anyone. I didn't rush it. I still don't. She knows where my lines are, and she respects them because she has her own. As for Lauren, she kept the house. She got smaller at work. The Whisper Network does its job in every city. You can't control it. You can only hope it's kind. Her friendship community shrank because people like clean lines, even when they pretend they don't. I hear she tried to rebrand. Wellness groups, long captions about growth. It'll land somewhere. It always does. I don't wish her harm. I don't wish her anything. She's a weather report I don't check. On a Saturday morning not long ago, I was at my window table with a black coffee, sun laying a stripe across the floor. Pete, old contractor, sat across uninvited and grunted. "You look better," he said. "Feels like it. House. Quiet. Work. Steady." He nodded, satisfied. "Good. You were dragging for a while." "I carried something that wasn't mine," I said. I set it down. He folded the newspaper. "What did you say to her?" "Final line." I smiled into the cup. I told her, "I'm not here to keep your mask on." Pete chuckled. "That'll sit." It did. It sits where it belongs, in the past. I walk out of the coffee shop, toss the cup, and step into the street like a man who has places to be. I didn't win anything dramatic. I just took my name back and left her to live in the gap where control used to be. That's plenty. Our story has come to an end. If you've made it this far, how about subscribing to our channel? It helps us immensely. I've selected 2 other videos for you that I'm sure you'll enjoy. Feel free to click on them. I'll be waiting for you in the next story. See you soon.